Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Geek Speak, and I'm Mr. Dynamic, and I'm here with...
Squirtle Master Kenobi.
And we're going to be ranking all 7? Is there 7 of these movies now? I believe there's...
Let's count them. Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, and Shazam.
So yeah, that's 7. All 7, you guessed it, DCEU movies.
I know, you're wondering, why are we doing this right now? It's Avengers season. Well, Shazam just came out.
Yeah. So we'll get to ranking the MCU soon, but for now, until we've seen Endgame.
Which we are seeing tonight.
Which I'm so excited
Which
for.
may be like 3 days ago, depending on when I actually post this.
So yeah, we're going to be ranking the DC movies, and then soon we'll rank the MCU movies when we've seen all of them. And yeah, all right, let's get into the ranking. So before we
caveat, I have not yet watched Aquaman yet, so that's not really going to be in my rankings. So that doesn't mean anything about Aquaman. It just means that I am a bozo that hasn't watched that movie yet.
All right, cool. All right, let's get into it. My least favorite DC movie is Suicide Squad, coming in at 7. This is a complete mess of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Tonally, it's terrible.
The only good thing about it was Margot Robbie as...
And Will Smith.
Will Smith was pretty good. Deadshot. But it's always the bright point in his movie, so it's
whether it's just shoving two main characters with video game style stats at us, or repeating plot points like crashing a helicopter or saving Amanda Waller. This is just a mess of a movie. And don't even get me started on Jared Leto as the Joker.
Oh, that was awful.
Oh, what a missed opportunity. I feel like
it was just as bad as The Last Jedi. I
feel like it could have been better if they actually gave him more time. But he just seems wrong. It's just in my opinion, a terrible movie.
Why don't we do this? Instead of going straight through, let's each do our 7th, then 7th, then 6th, then 6th. So, theoretically, my 7th right now would be Aquaman, since I haven't seen it. So we'll skip to 6th places. And my 6th place will be Suicide Squad, for the reasons given.
Yeah.
Primarily. I will say I enjoyed the movie. I liked the soundtrack from it, but it is the weak point. It is an unnecessary film in the franchise at this point.
Yeah. So it really seems disconnected from everything else that
it really does.
Movies have been
the only thing it seemed connected to is that one picture of Robin's suit from Batman v Superman.
Yeah. All right.
By the way, spoiler alert.
Just massive spoilers for every DC movie.
Mainly for Shazam more than anything, because that's going to be like the one that more people haven't seen.
Right. All right, and my number 6, I have Justice League. This is just a bland, nothing movie. With all the other movies, say what you will about Zack Snyder and his interpretation of Superman and Batman, whether you liked them or hated them, they actually brought something interesting. Justice League seems like a hollow corporate shell of a movie that is overall just uninteresting. And Zack Snyder had a very tone, whether it be like the way the movie was shot, the way it was lit. Justice League just seemed to cut it all off. And it's like shot really bright and almost like a TV movie. And while I enjoyed the characters more in Justice League, for the most part, Ben Affleck was completely terrible in this movie. I gotta say, I do not enjoy this movie as much as I do the other DC movies. And it feels very bizarre within the universe they built.
Yeah, I understand that. I personally, my next one, it personally gets given to Batman v Superman.
Right.
For multiple reasons. Yeah. One, I like Jesse Eisenberg, and I think he would have worked for like flashback younger version of Lex Luthor.
Right.
Just don't feel like he worked for Lex Luthor at all. I think he performed it well. I just don't think he worked. He was too young, and like it just. I don't know. It seemed like that Mark Zuckerberg movie.
Yeah.
But he was a villain.
Yeah, the Facebook movie.
Yeah, and it was like that. And then also one thing I did like about Batman v Superman was I did like the way that the Batman and Superman fight went down, because that's actually how it would go down. And a lot of people consider that being Batman having a victory over Superman, but if you really pay attention, it really wasn't. For one thing, Batman never killed Superman.
True.
Second, which was his goal. It was his endgame goal, and so since he never finished his goal, it wasn't really a victory for him. Second, Superman wasn't really fighting him.
That's true. Also,
the only reason that Batman was even able to get that close is because he was able to procure some kryptonite.
Yeah.
That was the other thing that I didn't like about the movie is explanation was shallow. And there was way too much exposition to get done. This should not have been a Batman v Superman movie. We should have had a Batman movie first, then we should have had Batman
This
v
feels
Superman.
like less on the movie than
I
the
feel
way
like
Warner
it was,
Brothers constructed.
I like Ben
universe.
Affleck as Batman, like a lot more than Christian Bale. I know that's not unpopular opinion, but I actually like Ben Affleck as Batman a lot more than any other Batman that we've seen. Personally, I just do. I didn't like his introduction. I feel like we just got thrown at the older, like 50-year-old, scarred by all of his years in Gotham version of Batman that just wanted to kill Superman.
Right.
And I wish we could have gotten to know Bruce Wayne and the real Batman first. And maybe gotten a movie that was what was happening in Gotham at the same time of Man of Steel.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been...
Having it end with Bruce on a post-credit scene doing that thing that we saw at the beginning of Batman v Superman, so that's like, it bleeds into... So it makes Batman v Superman... makes Man of Steel part of the movie, and then it bleeds directly into it.
Yeah, getting to know this new Batman was a key ingredient that we needed before we got dark, broody, I'm going to kill everyone.
Exactly. Or what we could have even just done is we didn't need an origin. We didn't really need an origin.
Right.
But we could have at least got that story of how they could have told the Robin getting killed story, which could have helped explain. Because what they could have done is they could have taken Bruce and they could have taken him from and this is more theory speculation than it is, ranking. But they could have taken Bruce from the point of, he's the Kevin Conroy Dark Knight where he goes and he protects, but he still has that truth, justice, and the American way, the same as Superman does. Maybe dark and grittier in this live action version. But it's the killing of Robin that happens in this introduction to Batman that you see throws him over the edge and turns him into the person that he is that wants to kill Superman.
Right.
Because you could push some of that as it's emotions from losing Robin.
Right. Yeah, I feel like we just needed another movie in between Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Preferably a Batman movie.
All right. Next.
Number 5 for me is Batman v Superman. It's a movie that I went to the theater and I initially did not like it, but the more I've watched it, the more I've grown to like it. I feel it, I watched it for this video, rewatched it, and I think it's kind of underrated. It gets a little too much hate than it deserves. Is it messy? Yes. Is some of the character choices bizarre, like Jesse Eisenberg acting like the Riddler? Yes. Is it always like tonally consistent? No. It's still a mess, but it's a mess that I've grown to appreciate a little more and more. And I do really like the visuals that Zack Snyder had in this movie. And Ben Affleck is the Batman that could have been. It's a shame that he's not playing him anymore.
Yeah.
If we got him in his own movie, I feel like he would be the definitive version of Batman. Because what we saw in BVS and in some parts of Justice League were really interesting, but it just didn't pan out that way. And... yeah,
we didn't have a reason to feel sorry for Bruce by the time that we were introduced to him, so...
yeah, so that caused a lot of...
it's almost like this
issues.
Bruce Wayne was written for people who are already fans of the comics and not necessarily accessible to people who aren't necessarily fans.
My belief is that you can change things about comic book characters if it fits the narrative that you're telling. Because the mainstream audience doesn't...
you have to be careful. You have to be careful about that. Small things you can. Subtle things.
Like stuff like making the Guardians of the Galaxy funny is something that nobody cares about and is a good change to the source material.
But I would say something like this.
Making Batman kill people, I don't think is a good change.
Exactly, because that's a fundamental part of his character.
Yeah.
But also something like this even, that may seem like a smaller issue, but take Supergirl, for example. I don't care necessarily about the fact that they made him black. Jimmy Olsen.
Right.
But if they're going to make him black, they need to make him like a Steve Urkel type of a black. That make him nerdy still, because that is Jimmy Olsen's character. He's the nerdy, bumbling photographer.
Yeah, you need to get the foundations of the character right.
He's not cool.
Make changes.
He's not a superhero.
Yeah,
you know?
It is a bit bizarre, but Anyway, what's your number?
My number 4 is my number 4 because technically at this point it's 7 Aquaman, 6 Suicide Squad because I haven't seen Aquaman. But Aquaman will probably end up being like third.
What's your next
place.
then?
My next one is actually Man of Steel.
Really?
Yes, and this is interesting coming from someone who Superman is their favorite movie, but that's partly why Man of Steel is my next because the other ones that I like more, and there's a reason why I like Justice League more than Man of Steel, and I'll tell you why I'm gonna get there. Man of Steel I don't like as much. I still like it as a movie, but tonally it doesn't fit Superman.
Yeah, I can see that.
Even from the comic book standpoint, it doesn't fit Superman. I did not like Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White.
Really? Because I kind of liked him.
I did not like him as Perry White. I think he performed the part well, but he wasn't Perry White. This is coming from someone who's very much a fan of... I've watched Lois and Clark. I've watched all 4 of the Christopher Reeve movies. I watched the animated series all the time. I've read a bunch of the comic books.
Right.
That wasn't Perry White.
Okay.
That was Bill Foster.
Yeah. He was great in it,
But he was not Perry White. And so... And again, this has nothing to do with him being black as much as the way they wrote the character and had him. If you wanted to have him be black, that's fine. But he has to be... Great Caesar's ghost! You know, like... He's got to be that, like... that type of a character that... He's more of a southern, like... In one of the interpretations, they had him as an Elvis lover. The Lois and Clark one.
Okay.
I will say this. Even though that Elvis thing isn't necessarily canon to the comic books, the Lois and Clark interpretation of Perry White is amazing. But it's not necessarily because he's an old white guy. It's just because of the way they portray the character. He's a loud editor-in-chief. He's not a cool, soft, smooth editor-in-chief like Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne can't do anything but cool, soft, and smooth.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to have a black guy, Kevin Hart, old Kevin Hart, would be a great black editor-in-chief.
I would watch that movie. That'd be fantastic.
That'd be amazing. Again, it has nothing to do... I don't necessarily mind race change. I don't think they're necessary, and I think they shouldn't happen. But as long as it fits within the soul of the character, like one of the ones like with Fantastic Four in 2015, they changed the race for Johnny Storm, which I didn't mind because the race change kind of fit his character still. Yeah. It didn't change anything about his character. The only thing that made it weird was they had to add the story about Sue and Johnny being only like half sisters or whatever.
Yeah.
Half sister brother or a step.
Anyway,
siblings.
more on Man of Steel.
But yeah. The other thing, something I did like, excuse me, something I did like about Man of Steel was the way they did Jonathan's death. That was amazing. And I think that Superman's introduction was good. But like I said, the biggest reason why I didn't like the movie was because it just didn't feel like Superman. It didn't feel like Superman.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Let's see what we just talked about. Alright,
So
my next movie.
You did Suicide Squad, and then you did...
Suicide Squad, Justice League, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel. Man of Steel is... I'm gonna be honest, didn't really care about Superman that much before this movie, but this brought me... This was like my first introduction into Superman through this movie. Like, I've seen him in cartoons, and I knew that he was a comic book character, but I didn't really care about him too much. I was more of a Marvel kid. But watching Man of Steel made me, like, appreciate the character a little bit more. I know that he's not the classic Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
And I do prefer Christopher Reeve over Henry Cavill, despite the fact that I think Henry Cavill's a great actor.
Oh, Henry Cavill looks amazing for the part, too.
Yeah, him in the suit is, like, perfect.
If nothing else, that was perfect. I would say... Even just changing the colors being brighter, because I saw a YouTube video where they made the colors brighter, and it felt more like Superman instantly.
Yeah. It's more of the... I feel like Man of Steel is a result of Warner Brothers saying, hey, the Dark Knight trilogy worked, so just make everything dark and gritty. And it doesn't work.
Doesn't translate well. You can't make the Flash dark and gritty.
It doesn't translate well onto Superman, who's naturally a light and hopeful character. But I do like the movie. I like General Zod. I thought who's the actor who played him in this movie? Michael Shannon was better in this.
He was great. I did like him better than Terrence Stamp.
Yeah, I thought he was really good.
Josh, get out of here. We're doing a video. Close the door, please.
Don't go in there.
and we're
Sorry about that.
Anyway, I thought Michael Shannon was a better version of Zod than the one in Superman 2. I liked Amy Adams as Lois Lane, however I miss the old actress from the Reeve movies.
Just have to wait quickly. If we're going to do a cut, I want to do this. Sorry about that. We just cut because my nephew just ran in through the door, and now we're back. But we've been back probably for like a minute already, so I just wanted to make sure that was clear before too much time. So you're like, wait, they jumped all of a sudden. What happened?
Yeah, we jumped forward. I like Amy Adams as Lois Lane. I felt like she needed to have a lot of things to do, though.
Mm-hmm.
But overall...
Oh, just real quick, that was another reason. I feel like she figured out too quickly about Superman. And the reason I feel like that is because that takes away that portion of the story where he has to lie to her, and there's that part of their relationship.
Right. But overall, I do like Man of Steel. I think it's a pretty good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was very controversial when it first came out because of the whole snapping of Zod's neck.
I liked that
but
part.
I thought it was actually really interesting.
I actually really liked that part because I was like, that's the length that Superman is willing to go to protect Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the concepts that Zack Snyder's trying to put in his movies.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they could be conveyed a little bit better, like that and the Martha.
I think he's a good storyteller, but sometimes he cuts his movies for the imagery more than the story.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's the biggest problem with Man of Steel. With the destruction in the final act too, is something I don't really like.
Yeah.
How they basically leveled Metropolis completely. But I like how
that
it
was,
tied over into the next movie.
It was supposed to tie into Batman
good.
v Superman.
Alright.
My next one is Justice League.
Okay.
And the reason why Justice League is in third place is because of a couple reasons. I love the Avengers movie, and I've been for a long time, even before the Avengers, wanted a live-action Justice League movie. I wanted it to be Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton. That would have been an amazing Batman, Superman, Justice League. You know, I wanted when they had Christian Bale and they came out with the Green Lantern, and I would have loved Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern, Henry Cavill as Superman, and Christian Bale as Batman in a Justice League movie. I wanted it then. And I know the Green Lantern movie is very controversial, but there's parts of it that I enjoy, there's parts of it that I hate. It's a bad movie. I'm not going to say that it's a good movie, but I enjoy it still.
Right.
But Justice League is my favorite, not my favorite. Why did I say that? Justice League is my third place because of a few reasons. One, I actually really liked the way that everyone was brought together, that it was some sort of thing that Batman was figuring out with Wonder Woman, and they were bringing the team together.
Right.
I liked the way they executed Cyborg. I thought he was actually done really well. Can you wait? Yeah.
Cool.
What?
Cut back in. Right.
I thought that Cyborg was done really well. I liked Ezra Miller as Barry. I thought he did really good, and I liked the storyline that they were introducing with him, where his father's in prison and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought they did a very good job with Flash.
Yeah.
I thought that Superman's bringing back to life, I actually thought that was a really interesting way to go about doing it. That was something new, but that made sense within the lore that they created.
There's elements of Justice League, yeah.
Because that's essentially what they did with, they turned Zod into Doomsday, which kind of fits the lore, too, because Zod was the one who made Doomsday in the comic books.
Okay.
But I also, there's a part at the very end after they fight all those bug dudes when they're in that...
the parademons.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what they were called. When they were in that, big tower thing and everyone's having that big final fight.
Right.
So there's the part where Flash and Superman went and saved all those people, and Superman's like, hello, and they're like,
I
and Flash's like, you're fast too, and he's like, you go west, I'll go east, and then was like that's such a Superman, that's such a classic Superman Flash moment where Flash is running and Superman is flying at super speed and they look at each other like that, and then there's that moment at the very end when they destroy the thing and Superman's lying down on the ground and he just starts laughing, and it felt like Superman right there. Yeah. When he did that, he was lighthearted. He was Superman. He wasn't such. This is Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
He was Superman in that moment. I felt personality and character from him. I for the first time in the since the learning. From Man of Steel to Batman v Superman, for the first time when he started laughing like that, I actually wanted good things, and hoped for good things, and was happy that he was alive.
Yeah. I do like that they turned him around into the more classic Superman.
And then the last thing I'm going to comment on about Justice League is the part when the Justice League is fighting against Superman. I like that they put that in there because that was realistically how the fight would have gone down. If the Justice League were to fight, even Wonder Woman would not have a chance against Superman. And I've always felt this because if you really look at Superman's power capability, yes, he's overpowered.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. He is not beatable by anybody. I liked how the Flash was trying to run around and then you saw Clark's eyes go to the Flash. That was really cool. But there's also people who are not musical may not get this, and maybe they do, but when they're fighting Superman, they actually do a call
they do
to the John Williams score.
Danny Elfman does a lot of like musical cues that I really appreciate. They did
there's a part where like Superman like punches, or I think it might be the part where Flash is running, but there's something and it's in like slow motion and you hear,
it goes
ba, 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 ba.
Except like instead of like going lighter, it goes like darker because he's like more interested in fighting them.
And
I think that's really interesting.
I
like
love that about it.
I love when they brought in the 89 theme for Batman for that brief second. I was like, oh, that's great.
I really actually one of the things that I did love about Man of Steel and that I was happy that they brought back into both Batman v Superman and Justice League was Martha Kent. I think, what's her name? Diane Keaton. I think that she is doing a really great job as Martha Kent.
Yeah, she's a really good Martha Kent. I agree.
She is that badass farm single mom, with a superhero for a son that she should be. And it's awesome.
I really dig her. I think she's really good.
She's giving Annette O'Toole a run for her money, and Annette O'Toole was an amazing Martha Kent.
Oh yeah, the
from Smallville. Oh man. But yeah, so that's my Justice League. What's second place?
Second place.
This would be your third place.
No, it'd be my third place actually. Third place for me is Wonder Woman. This is a movie I really liked when it first came out. The more I watch it, it doesn't
do it as much.
It doesn't do it as much for me. This is a movie that I really like up until we get to that third act. When that third act hits, it feels like a completely different writing team took over, and we get more of the bland DC third act finales that we got in Man of Steel and BVS. That I really just... Why did they go with a boring CGI gray villain? Why do they keep doing it? It's so boring and generic.
I have something to say on that too.
It's so boring and generic that it's... If Marvel wasn't doing it for years, DC would be like, hey, it's another bland DC movie or movie villain. And besides that, I think it's a great movie. Gal Gadot is great and pretty much like iconic as Wonder Woman, as much as Linda Carter was. I don't normally like cry that much during movies, but I started tearing up during the No Man's Land scene for whatever reason. I never like I just started like breaking down for some reason. I don't understand it. It's not normally me, but for some reason the No Man's Land scene when she like rises up and she's like deflecting all the bullets and they're pushing back, it just something clicked for me. This is DC. This is the bright and hopeful, inspiring DC that they needed to push in. And thank God Patty Jenkins.
I think Wonder Woman did save. Because ever since Wonder Woman, they've been hitting it. They've been hitting the mark. I feel like I've only heard good things about Aquaman. Shazam was great. Wonder Woman's my next one too. But the issues that I have with it, I have only watched it a couple times. But the issues that I mainly have with Wonder Woman are more or less. It has nothing more or less to do with the movie and more to do with political and like agendas that surround the idea of the movie. I have no problem with female leads, female strong badass characters, none whatsoever. But just make them. We don't need to like be all, this is the first female led movie. Really? Are you alive in the 80s?
There's a lot of strong female
Aliens.
Leads. Yeah, with Ripley and
I know that
Leia from Star Wars,
I know that this has less to do with the movie, but when your movie gets associated with that, it does affect how people see it. But I think what I was going to say about the villain is that what I would have done is instead of having it actually be Ares, that was the villain at the end,
right?
And have it be a guy villain. Why not have a girl villain that she fights against? Have it be one of the Amazons that like went rogue,
or something like that. Yeah.
Or have it be Ares' daughter. Here's an idea. What if Ares had a daughter with one of the Amazons, and it was Wonder Woman.
That could be
an interesting story. Or what if Ares had a daughter with one of the Amazons, and that Amazon had already left. What's the place?
Themyscira.
Themyscira, and maybe that Amazon was using some kind of powers that she had from Ares to be able to shapeshift herself into a man so that she could work up high in the ranks and stuff like that.
Right.
Because of the time period.
Right.
But then it's revealed, she's really theoretically the long lost sister of Wonder Woman.
Right.
I feel it doesn't have to be, but
the third act just need
it wouldn't have to be that necessarily. But I'm just saying, I think it could have been cool, and I think it would have helped more with the powerful woman thing, if they had the villain be a woman too. And here's why. Because what ends up happening with a lot of that feminism stuff is they have a good intention with where they want to make a woman as the lead and stuff like that. But what ends up happening is that they decrease the men in order to do it.
Yeah, I do feel that sometimes.
And they shouldn't do that. And I think one of the ways that they do that is they make the man a villain. It's like they're not allowed to do stuff like that to women because they're working so hard on raising them up that women can only be good things and, a woman would never become a villain. And stuff like that.
Yeah, I can feel
Avengers and the Marvel doesn't do that so much because they do have a lot of female.
The closest I think they got to that was Captain Marvel. Yeah, that was the closest they got to really dipping their toe into that.
And the other thing I was gonna say is even the one good male character they had, and there wasn't a white male character, it was a black guy.
But that's Nick Fury, so we give him a pass.
Exactly. And that was the other thing is that Nick Fury's action in that was classic Nick Fury action, so I didn't care that he wasn't as badass as Captain Marvel from that sense.
Right.
Now, that being said, I do still love Wonder Woman. I think it's a great movie, and I think that it does show that, women can be leads in movies, and I think that's good. And I've never believed that otherwise. I've never honestly believed otherwise. I've honestly felt there's some things that Kathleen Kennedy from the Lucasfilm said, I want to make more female characters because young girls can't relate to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, but you have Princess Leia.
Well, doesn't matter. That's basically saying to me that because I'm not a street rat from Agrabah, I couldn't relate to Aladdin.
Yeah, that's true.
Or it's saying to me that because I'm not a girl, I couldn't relate to Rapunzel or to Elsa or anything like that.
Right.
There's...
People can identify in characters or movie characters.
We only got a couple minutes left, so we should get our last couple in.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So what's your favorite DC movie?
Well, you still have two more to go, don't you?
Then I'll do mine, and then we'll do the number ones.
Number ones.
All right. My second favorite is Shazam. This is a really fun movie. Zachary Levi, I'm totally sold on as this goofy 14-year-old kid inside the body of a 30-year-old, basically Superman archetype.
Uh-huh.
And he just has so much fun in this movie. The chemistry between him and the other orphan kid, the foster kid that they have, I forgot their name.
Oh, he's a great actor.
They're you can feel the connection, and it's so great. And I feel like this is a mix of Goonies and Superman. This is the lost 80s movie that never got made, and they just made it.
I agree. Nowadays. It was this was a superhero movie that should have been made in the 80s. Captain America was a superhero movie that should have been made in the 60s or something like that.
Yeah, it's something that feels straight out of the 80s. Now,
Shazam's my number one.
Right. My only issue with this movie is the scenes with the villain, Dr. Silva, are out of a completely different movie. It's so dark and so I feel unnecessary.
I think that's what I like about it though, and here's why. Because it adds to the comedy when you have the 14-year-old little... Because here's what I feel like that is. You have this... Because I like his backstory, how they have the whole car accident thing. Spoiler alert, they have the whole car accident thing in the beginning where he goes and he meets Shazam and all that.
Right.
You can go ahead and turn that off because we're about to finish it.
Okay, cool.
Where they have the whole car accident and everything, and then he gets denied the powers because he failed the test and stuff like that, and then his whole life is spent doing that. So you have the contrast of the adult who spent his life obsessed about this thing, getting this power, finally gets the power, becomes this thing, but he's really not the thing because it's just the demons that are inside his eye.
Right.
And then you get this other kid who's just a little boy who's just trying to find his way back to his mom, and he has such this opposite, lighthearted but still a very tragic and dark story that he's following. Oh. And then at some point you have this bwomp, 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 villain I'm going to kill you, and the boy's like, oh, and like it adds to the comedy between them and stuff like that.
But when you get scenes like the scientist lady just disintegrating when she touches the door, or
Yes.
the boardroom scene, I'm like, where is this coming from? This is a completely different movie than we are having.
I think
like we're having goofy scenes with Shazam and the kid
I think
drinking
those
beer, and
those were scenes though that were more. They were more or less. I understand what you mean by that, but those were scenes that were more or less used to basically say, this is how far the characters come at this point.
right.
And this was his, like, he's been striving for this. He wanted to instill that fear in his father and show his father, look. But then also, I was okay with the person disintegrating at the door because that was just to show, okay, that's what happens when you try to touch the door, so I gotta figure out how to open the door.
Right. Like, I'm not saying they're like bad scenes or whatever, but they just seem so totally out of place.
They did seem totally out of place, and I was noticing that myself when watching through the movie initially, but coming around to having watched the whole movie, I feel like they needed to be in there.
Right.
I will say the boardroom scene I feel like could have not been in there.
Yeah, they could have portrayed it even in a different way, but it was just so unnecessarily dark. But enough of that. What I want to talk about is
your number one.
Real quick, going into Shazam. Great child actors. Finally, you guys found some. I was so concerned.
Can that kid who plays Billy Batson please play a young Kylo Ren in a live-action TV series alongside Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker?
It would be fantastic. Please. And I was a little concerned when they were introducing all the different kids. Like, you have the each one had a different quirk. Like, there was the small black
cute
woman. She was so funny.
So cute.
I was so concerned when they introduced her, but then all my fears were like put to rest almost immediately.
I love when they figured out about Billy, and she's like, "Finally, I can talk about
exactly. They're just so great. Anyway. Moving on to my number one, Aquaman. This is a movie that I didn't think...
hold on. Before you go any further than that, can we address this? Aquaman, why are you the best movie? You are Aquaman! For crying out loud. There's Aquaman. A Big Bang Theory episode where they're making fun of Aquaman. I'll have to show you the clip.
This is a movie that probably shouldn't have worked, but by God, James Wan just threw everything he had at this movie. Like, it's so like over the top and bloated in the best way possible, and Jason Momoa he's having so much fun in this role, and I totally buy him as like this drunk, reluctant hero who just like screams every single time like something happens.
Well, also I haven't seen it yet, but I will say Amber Heard looks very attractive as a redhead in a fish bodysuit.
She's really good in the movie. Like, she gives a pretty good performance in the movie. I also like the two villains, being Black Manta and Ocean Master. I think both of them are really interesting, and I really like how they pull the classic suit into modern day, and it doesn't look cheesy or goofy.
And something that I like that I saw from the trailers is it looks like the underwater graphics are really good.
Oh, they're so amazing.
And it also looks like they managed to like make Atlantis like this whole like almost like an underwater elven kingdom thing.
Yeah, I'd argue that Atlantis looks better, or at least on par with even like Pandora from Avatar.
Oh,
like, it's really good and interesting, and there's lore and there's different kingdoms, and it's just everything I love in like a big fantasy epic movie.
See, and that was one thing that I did like about Man of Steel is that they started to open up the Krypton lore.
Yeah,
and they showed you an amazing planet.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of my favorite parts of Man of Steel.
It's the new aspects of DC that I find the best. Like, movies like Wonder Woman, Shazam, Aquaman, the new stuff that we haven't seen before, that they're pouring, like, that they're getting good directors to pour, like, their soul into, like,
right.
crafting these new and interesting movies. It's the James Gunn effect, where you get, like, a nobody director to direct, like, this movie.
You know who should direct Suicide Squad 2, if they do a second one?
Who?
Taika Waititi.
Oh, that would be pretty amazing. That would be so funny.
And then James Gunn needs to do the Teen Titans movies.
I'd be down with that. But one last thing. Finally, a good third act in a DC movie.
Really?
I
thought Shazam's third act was amazing.
Shazam's third act is good. I really like it. But Aquaman's is just amazing. They throw everything at you. It's like
what's going to have an amazing third act, just to wrap this up?
What?
Endgame, which
Oh,
we're going to
boy.
be watching in 5 hours from now.
I'm so excited.
Which,
All right.
again, this might be like 3 days ago if you're watching this.
Right. So, yeah, that's our ranking.
Closing thoughts? Let's just recap. My ranking goes, what was it? I'm not going to count Aquaman. It was Suicide Squad, Batman vs. Superman, Man of Steel, Justice League, Wonder Woman, and Shazam.
Alright, mine goes Suicide Squad, Justice League, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Aquaman.
It's a respectable list.
Yeah, I think I'm really
It's
happy
sad.
with this.
It's sad to me that the ones with Superman are the lower ones because Superman is my favorite. But this Superman has taken a while to get on its feet. I don't feel like we've gotten Superman until Justice League.
Hopefully they can figure out their issues with Henry Cavill and if he's even still playing the role.
Well, according to Jason Momoa, all that was false.
Okay, cool. So take it away. It is right now.
Because actually, Henry Cavill is a big Superman fan.
That's good.
He is a huge Superman fan. He loves the Christopher Reeve Supermans too.
So that's our ranking of the DCEU movies thus far. We'll come back and probably readjust our rankings more when Joker comes out. Would you say?
The Walking Phoenix movie.
Yeah, the Walking Phoenix.
That's not part of the DCU though.
Should we? Yeah, that's true. That's more of a spin-off thing. But should we count it in our rankings?
Well, I feel like if we're gonna do that, we should do all the DC movies and count Green Lantern and the Dark Knight
that's true. That's
and stuff
true.
like that. Maybe what we could do is we can do DCEU, and then all the DC movies.
Get really ambitious here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which there's a lot of them. There's the Swamp Thing. There's Constantine. They have there's some other ones.
Yeah, all the different versions of Batman and Superman and whatnot. But yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'll close this out real quick.
Just real quick. I have a list here. Okay, so there's the Batman trilogy, there's the Batman quadrilogy, there's Catwoman, there's Jonah Hex, there's Supergirl, there's the Superman quadrilogy plus Superman Returns, there's Swamp Thing, there's the Watchmen, and then there's all kinds.
All right, yeah.
All right.
That is our ranking of the DCEU. Let us know your rankings down in the comment down below, and make sure you, if you have anything else you want us to talk about, be sure to leave it in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more of our more episodes. So yeah, I've been Mr. Dynamic.
Subscribe.
I've been Mr. Dynamic. Squirrel Master Kenobi. Peace.